I'm often asked, Bishop, how can you be a pastor, a spiritual leader, a sanctified preacher, and still be in that Greek letter fraternity? Let me address this real quick and as clear as I can. The Bible tells us that people perish because of the lack of knowledge, but even more dangerous is misinformation. Misinformation is worse because it takes truth, twists it, and presents confusion as clarity and sometimes even divine revelation. I did not denounce my Greek letter fraternity because I'm under a spirit of confusion or lack in faith. No, I understand context, culture, and theology. We're living in a moment where people follow trends. They're quick to denounce or renounce anything that makes them uncomfortable, often without applying common sense. Just because something uses Greek letters does not make it Greek worship. Letters are tools of communication. We use Greek letters, American letters, Arabic letters, Chinese letters every day. The letters themselves don't hold power. Meaning does. Even God himself describes himself as the Alpha and the Omega. It's not about the Greek letters. It's about the meaning. If I were going to start picking things apart because of cultural norms that they derive from, then we got a long way to go. What are we going to do about the days of the week, which are named after the Norse gods? What about the months of the year rooted in Roman culture? Are we going to renounce the month of March and nobody celebrate their birthday in the month of March because it's named after the Mars god? Of course not, because we understand context. The same logic applies to words like pledge and oath. People over-spiritualize these terms. Commitment does not equal worship. I pledge myself to my wife for the rest of my life. She's not my God. I pledge my devotion to my children, my family, and my loved ones. None of them are my God. I commit to serve the people of Triumphant Church because I'm their pastor. Me serving them is not me worshiping them. I love both my colleges, Shaw University in North Carolina, as well as Tennessee State University. I proudly sing their school songs. When Shaw says, "Thy sons revere thy name," I don't think Jesus is being replaced because I understand literally and historical context. Reverence there means honor, not deity. Now, I can't speak for every tradition within the Divine Nine organizations, but what I do know is this. They were founded, most of them by devout Christians, preachers, educators, men and women of faith who believed in brotherhood, sisterhood, scholarship, and service, giving back to the community. They understood that life has to become bigger than yourself. So at the age of 19, I did my research, and I'm going to tell the truth. I admired them all. I was smart like an alpha, had the class of a kappa, and stood on business like a Q. But Sigma spoke to me the fullness of who I am. God didn't make me one particular stereotype. He made me the total package. So, hey, blue and white it was for me. Yeah, we wore crescents, but that never meant that we served the moon god. I serve the God who created the moon. And let me deal with this whole secret society talk that got a lot of folks messed up. There is a difference between secrecy and privilege. Private does not mean demonic. When I joined the National Honor Society, they turned off all the lights, handed us a candle, marched us in. Nobody was summoning witches and conjuring up demons. It was symbolism. The candle flame represented that knowledge shines even in the middle of darkness. Here's the real truth. Anything you put in the place of God needs to be denounced. It's idolatry. A fraternity, a sorority, but also a job, a relationship, even football, because some folk won't worship during football season. That doesn't mean football is evil. It means you need to reassign and readjust your priorities. David said, "I look to the hills from whence cometh my help." And then he clarified, my help comes from God. Let me make this plain. I confess with my mouth and believe in my heart that Jesus died for my sins and rose again on the third day, and that faith in him and his shed blood alone is what equals me going into heaven, salvation. That's why I made the decision to be water baptized in the name of Jesus Christ, and he filled me with his spirit. So I'm not ignorant. I'm not deceived. I'm not under some delusion or demonic spell, because if I were under a delusion by the devil, I don't believe that delusion would be telling me to serve Jesus, preach Jesus, and along with all of that, love people, build healthy relationships, engage in meaningful intellectual conversation, and serve my community all along the way of me loving Jesus. That doesn't sound like bondage to me, y'all. That sounds like freedom. And my Bible tells me, whom the Son has set free is truly free indeed. My cause speeds on its way.